Let's see what a typical controlled demolition looks like. Here it is. The way they do this is by placing explosives synchronistically timed floor by floor through the building so that we bring the building down symmetrically, vertically, at almost free fall acceleration, using the building's weight to do much of the destruction. So the result of a typical controlled demolition is a sudden onset of destruction at the base of the structure, a straight down symmetrical collapse into its own footprint, because demolition waves remove the column supports. This results in a free fall acceleration almost, straight down through what was the path of greatest resistance. A total dismemberment of the steel structure is resulted, where it's broken up and ready for loading and shipment. A minimal damage to adjacent structures is always good. Sounds and flashes of explosions are heard and seen by witnesses. We have enormous clouds of pulverized concrete, of course, from the explosives. We have squibs, or explosive isolated jets, occurring at different points in the building. And of course, we have chemical evidence in the debris pile, evidence of cutter charges. All of this is direct evidence of explosive destruction, and guess what? Fire can't create any one of these, let alone all 10. If we have additional supporting documentation, like government documentation, quite helpful, expert corroboration, foreknowledge, and video documentation. Foreknowledge because it takes months to plan and execute a controlled demolition. This is all proof, beyond a reasonable doubt, of controlled demolition. Do we have any of these characteristics in Building 7? Most Americans, most all architects and engineers, in fact, know nothing about the third worst structural failure in modern history. Building 7, a 47-story skyscraper, a football field away from the Twin Towers, was not hit by an airplane. And yet, at 5:20 in the afternoon, it collapses in the manner in which we'll see. We notice that the North Tower came down and some of the debris from it landed all the way over onto Building 7, but here it is standing through the morning and the afternoon, and it comes down at 5:20. Let's see if there's any of the characteristics of explosive controlled demolition in Building 7's destruction. Starting with, do we have a sudden onset of destruction at the base of the structure? In the DVD that you have, you'll see plenty of witnesses that describe sounds of explosions. Do we have a straight down symmetrical collapse into the building's footprint? Let's listen to Dan Rather narrate this for us.
Now here we're going to show you a videotape of the collapse itself. Now we go to videotape the collapse of this building. It's amazing, incredible picture work. For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before. A building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
Now, Dan never repeated these words on mainstream media after that day. In fact, most of us, hardly any of us, have seen Building 7 coming down. It won't be played. Why? We'll see. Let's take another look from West Street. Smooth, symmetrical, straight down. Let's bring it back up. Penthouse falls 1 second before the rest of the building. I'm not quite sure. Let's take a look side by side. We have Building 7 on the left and a known controlled demolition on the right. Is there any similarity? Is there enough similarity to warrant a new investigation into the possible use of explosives? Why did not NIST Why did NIST not look at the most obvious hypothesis? These are the fires that are said to have caused the destruction of this building. 8 to 10 fairly small, fairly scattered fires. This one on the 12th floor, which is cited as the initiation of collapse. But we have a statement from NIST in Appendix L that says they have photos that show that that building that fire went out in that area at least an hour, hour and a half before the building collapsed. So that area was cooling already. This is a huge problem for the official story. How do we bring a building straight down into its own footprint? We have to remove the column supports, 24 of them in this case, and all of them within 1/10 of a second of each other. Any deviation in that pattern, and the building will begin to tip. The question is, can fire, especially those fires that you saw, be responsible for this level of precision? Big problem for the official story. Let's see how fast this building comes down. In just 6.5 seconds, at free fall acceleration, as fast as this piece of thermite is falling through the air, is how fast this building comes down in the first 100 feet. Free fall acceleration. The building is accelerating, getting faster and faster, straight down through what was the path of greatest resistance. How does that happen? We have to remove all those columns. And it appears that we have the total dismemberment of the steel structure. A 47-story skyscraper, moment steel frame resisting, columns, beams welded very tightly, very robustly together, collapses like a house of cards into just about 4 stories. They all had to have been cut. Sounds of explosions heard and seen by witnesses. You'll hear and see those on the DVD. Enormous pyroclastic-like clouds of concrete suspended in the air, fueled by the expansion of these gases from the extremely hot temperatures associated not with those 8 to 10 small fires, but with something else that we're going to be looking at in a moment. Racing 35 miles an hour in every direction away from the building. At this point, I would like to invite Dr. David Ray Griffin up to provide additional perspective for
Coming up in the next segment, David Ray Griffin.